Hi guys, and welcome to today's video where we're going to talk about 10 things you should know before buying a pink-tongued skink. So whether you're new to owning them or you are thinking of getting one, I hope this helps. Rex here has just turned 1, so I am still fairly new to owning them. I've only owned him just short of a year, but I hope these things do help. This is just what I've learnt so far. And if you have more experience with pink-tongued skinks, please feel free to leave advice in the comments below. I'm sure we can all learn something new. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't know, I recently came out with new merch, my Antisocial Reptile Club line. So if you'd like to check that out, head over to leopardgeckomerch.com. But let's get into the first point. So number 1, babies are very fast, hissy, and they will poop on you. So you'll often hear about how handleable, docile, and tame these skinks are, and they certainly can be once they're adults. In my experience, when they're little, they want to protect themselves by looking as scary as possible to potential predators. So they can be very flighty, they may hiss at you, they may release their bowels on you, but I'm here to tell you this is normal, and they will grow out of it. It's almost like a rite of passage, like you must go through this tough, hissy worm stage to finally own the docile tree sausage that is a pink-tongued skink. So some people will actually choose to not interact with their skink at all until they're a year old, but I went for the slow and steady approach of handling Rex occasionally, building that trust up slowly. And though sometimes now he can be still a tad flighty, he may occasionally huff or hiss, but I feel like that's kind of normal for skinks anyway, he has gotten so much better with handling as he's grown. Number 2, try to buy from a decent shop or breeder because it will make a difference. Now, this point will link onto the next one, but basically I've come to find that if you have babies who are raised on a varied diet, they'll usually be less fussy feeders in the future. Rex here had a bit of a rough start in life. Unfortunately, I think the shop I got him from didn't feed him for a month. Well, they were saying they were feeding him crickets, and we know that pink-tongued skinks don't eat crickets, and he was incredibly small and underweight when I got him. And to this day, he's extremely fixated on one type of food. So if you're in a position to get a pink-tongued skink, please try to get one where you know the breeder has raised them on a varied diet, or the shop has, and they're knowledgeable about the species they're keeping. So point number 3, your life will be filled with snails. Now, in a previous video, I talked about how much I spent on snails in a few months. It was way over £100, how tricky it was to get hold of them all the time, and now I have 6 or 7 large tubs full of snails, either feeder ones or breeder ones, and tiny babies that I'm raising to be fed to Rex. Now, when I went into owning a pink-tongued skink, from everything I read online, I figured I'll get the human grade frozen thawed snails. I won't have to kill a snail, I won't have to keep a snail, I'll just have them in the freezer, get them out when he needs them. No, he did not eat them at all. So we had to go for the live, raw snails. So there is a chance when you get a pink-tongued skink, depending on how they've been raised and what they're currently eating, you may also need to do this. So my life is almost definitely going to be filled with raising snails to feed to my skink. Now at the end of the day, in the wild they mainly eat snails and slugs, so completely normal, natural, great. But I do know breeders who will raise their babies to eat a variety of stuff, including like omnigold, eggs, and so on. The next point is more about their decoration. So they love cork tubes, they love to climb things, they love to burrow. So these skinks will also love to snooze. You will find them asleep in places, and they are so cute when they're asleep, but they're also very active. They love to climb up like cork backgrounds, branches, they love to burrow in the substrates to make sure you provide a safe substrate, provide lots of cork hollows, as many things as they can hide and climb in as possible. This moves me on to the next point. Don't use a 10-gallon tank for the adult pink-tongued skink. I noticed in a lot of US care guides they would just recommend a 10-gallon tank for adult pink-tongued skinks. whereas in the UK care guides, a 3 or 4 foot long tank was like the minimum requirement. If you can go bigger, go bigger. They love both height and length, so they'll use it all. I actually have a tank I've ordered for Rex, which will be a 3 by 2 by 3 foot tank. In the future, if Bruce moves out his tank and I have a spare 4 by 2 by 2 foot tank and I think Rex can benefit from that, maybe I'll move him in there. But definitely I couldn't imagine keeping Rex, who is about 14 inches long, will get to 18 inches long, in a 10-gallon tank. Which moves me on to the next point, talking of size. It takes him 3 years to be fully grown. So as I said, Rex has just turned 1. He's anywhere between sort of 77 and 80 grams at the moment, and he's 14 inches long. He will continue to grow for 2 more years. Why is that? I'm not quite sure, but for whatever reason, it does seem to take pink-tongued skinks 3 years to fully mature. The next point is some people keep these in groups and say that's totally fine. So I was actually only talking to a breeder the other day who spoke about a multi-generational tank, or tanks where the mother's in there with the babies, or siblings live together, or even just random individuals live together and they're just in harmony. And I'm actually considering maybe giving Rex a tank mate. I've never done that with any of my reptiles before, but I have seen plenty of examples of them living harmoniously, so I am considering would he benefit from a tank mate once he has a bigger tank. But there can be a serious issue with this, which is the next point. They can be tricky to sex, so even though I refer to Rex as a he, I'm not actually 100% sure if he is a he or a she, so you can imagine if you are housing multiples together, this could lead to pregnancies, and having animals that give birth to live young, by the way, they give birth to live young if you didn't know, it can be a little bit tricky. One moment they look bloated, next thing you know, Rex is a mother. That would be one of the things that worry me a bit about keeping them in a group. The next point is, they're not too expensive to buy in comparison to other skinks, but they can be hard to find. So if you go into any reptile shop, you'll almost definitely find a leopard gecko, bearded dragon, ball python, But pink-tongued skinks, when I was looking for mine at least, I really had to scour the internet and, organise with a shop to get Rex to be moved to a shop closer to me and then get him from there. So you might need to either do that or get a courier, maybe travel a bit further afield, find one at an expo, or maybe you're lucky to be near a shop that has one or a local breeder, but they're not the easiest to find. And finally, in my experience, Rex is most active and awake during the day, and I won't see him at night. So this might vary for a lot of people, maybe this is just Rex, but if you're expecting maybe an animal that is out at night, you might be in for a surprise, which is weird because some of the care guides do refer to them as being crepuscular or nocturnal. But as I said, in my experience, I only see Rex out and being active during the day. Sometimes he'll fall asleep, but he's also climbing around and doing things. And then as his lights are going off, he usually finds a place to tuck himself in and go to sleep. But then he'll just disappear. I won't see him at night. Now maybe he's burrowing. Maybe he is actually active. I just don't see it. But I would definitely consider him maybe one of my daytime reptiles, and I just leave him alone in the evening. But as I said, if you have more experience with pink-tongued skinks and you notice something completely different, let me know in the comments below. So I hope this has given you a better idea of what it's like to own a pink-tongued skink. If this has helped, please leave a like, but thank you for watching and goodbye.